15 years in the planning and construction, Gravelly Hill Interchange, or Spaghetti Junction as it's better known, would be different to anything that had gone before it in the history of British motorway construction. Across 5 different levels raised on 600 reinforced concrete columns, this was to be the link between the M1, the M5 and the M6. Crammed onto a 30-acre site, it needed to be choreographed around both the existing industry and the local community.
And of course, when it started,
the mess was dreadful.
Mayhem,
absolutely
you can
awful.
imagine.
Oh, the
It was
dirt.
a carpenter.
The kids came in with the dirt, and you pushed your pram through it, and if it was a wet day you still had to push it back into the hall because you couldn't leave it outside, and it was just a nightmare. The dirt was just a nightmare.
Well, the first time I think we heard was the next door neighbour, and he said to us, "Do you know there's a motorway coming here?" So we just thought, well, we'll wait and see what happens, So then the motorway came.
Too late.
Yeah.
We were trapped.
175,000 cubic yards.
The engineers had to elevate 13.5 miles of motorway to accommodate 2 railway lines, 3 canals and 2 rivers.
Building a viaduct of this length needed careful planning and design.
There was a great canal system in Birmingham, and we had to provide a column arrangement so that you could still tow a barge with a horse. I nearly went mad when they said to me, but anyway, we had to do that to rearrange the columns so that they could get their horse round there. It was an interesting job, certainly.
You can see why they call it Spaghetti Junction, though the engineers point out that unlike a plate of spaghetti, it stands up and it's highly planned.
Spaghetti Junction is anything but a formless lump. It required a great deal of engineering, planning and design before its final shape was achieved. But yes, it is, I think, a remarkable achievement.
I think it was a clever thing.
Yeah.
I think it's been quite a clever thing for the people that it hasn't affected. But it's not a pleasant thing to live by. I think the engineers that built it should come and live here for at least a month with all the windows propped open.
Just 14 years after the Preston bypass was opened, Spaghetti Junction was completed.
Just follow the signs.
It was opened in November 1972 by Peter Walker, the Environment Secretary for Edward Heath's Tory government.
This is perhaps the most exciting day in the history of the road system in this country.
The job fell to him because the departments responsible for transport, housing and local government had been combined, a sign of the changing attitudes to motorways and their impact on the environment.
And it is, I may say so, a triumph for motorway engineering. Perhaps more important, an illustration of how motorways can improve environments. I declare this motorway open.